It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks a favor to wake up and hear my neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We have beauty, we have power.
Good morning, viewers. Thank you for staying with us. You are viewing GMT. I'm your host, Natalie Sealy-Richardson. And I want to thank Adana and Brianna for setting the paces and taking us through the morning show. In case you were wondering, yes, it is the last day of the month of January, and I know Adana seemed excited to get into February. February was definitely on her mind, but we'll wait until tomorrow. Many of you have been following us, especially for the last 2 weeks, as we brought the series Beneath the Surface to you, and we continue this morning, of course, and we are wrapping up the series. And sitting with me this morning is the Honourable Farley Augustine, our Chief Secretary. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And I know that he's always busy, so it's always very, noted, and we are always thankful when you make time out of your busy schedule to sit with us at Tobago Updates and, of course, to talk to the people of Tobago and by the world by extension. As we have been doing beneath the series, we met with all of your councillors, your assemblymen, and the conversation really is that moment where they just reflect and share future goals. And of course, you wore and wear many hats. This morning, we'll talk to you about you being assemblyman, former finance secretary, of course, chief sec, and we'll talk a bit about the Tobago People's Party.
Sure.
So again, let me, although I'm in your space, I'm welcoming you this morning to Tobago Updates.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for joining me in my office this morning. Happy to be here. And of course, every moment of reflection starts with the people of Palliative Lands on the Speyside.
Yes.
And that's this massive geographical space spanning from part of Delaford in the east, Speyside, Charlotteville, Hermitage, Bloody Lansome, Palliative, and of course Castara. And so it always will start with gratitude with humble country people who I think are the absolutely most beautiful people in the world. And gratitude for them putting me here, because had it not been for them in 2017, who first gave me the nod and would have voted for me essentially 3 times consecutively since then, I will not be in this seat. So I must start with gratitude to those people from Palliative Lands from the Speyside.
And tell me, what is it like representing? Because we know that you are a proud man of the East. I think everybody who knows the Chief Sec know where you come from. You have shared your beginnings with us. But just for that person who may be viewing for the first time and have no idea who you are, if you can just briefly, tell us a little bit about, growing up in Speyside and having that love for the people on that part of the island.
Well, that is what drives me, to be honest. Because growing up in Speyside meant that neighbors are family. Family members are neighbors.
Right.
And so you more or less sharing spaces with everyone, helping to protect each other, looking out for each other, teaching each other, learning from each other's experiences, because it is just that intimate. And so it's difficult for me as a person now, even as Chief Secretary, to set some of the typical boundaries you will see for a Chief Sec.
Right.
And I know sometimes it can be annoying to those that I love.
Right.
And I'll give an example. So let's say I'll go out on a date night with my wife, or we just sit down, so we're having a meal, and it is almost expected that somebody will come and interrupt.
Yes.
I've had instances where people just come and pull up a chair. While we are having a meal, let's pull up a chair because they want to talk to me about that issue. And of course, you're a woman, you're a wife, you should know.
We wouldn't like that at all, yes.
And then I'm like, what's the issue? Just a little quick chat.
Yes.
But that is a part of just my orientation as a human being, that came from the fact that neighbors We're family. Family is family is really neighbor, and everybody just being intimate, being in each other's space, protecting each other. So now I'm chief secretary. It's kind of difficult to have a different boundary. Now and again, I spend some time with my father in space, and I try to make time to go to him,
yes,
because he just doesn't want to leave country to come to town.
Right.
Once since I'm at the chief sec residence, he came. He was to spend a weekend. He literally spent one night, and next morning he said, "Listen, I have to go and see about my goats." And that was the end of the stay.
Man has to mind his business.
That was the end of the stay. So I made the time to go and spend time there, and very normal that I am in the kitchen, and I think it was sometime after about New Year's morning, I am there cooking, making lunch, and people just outside with issues that they want me to deal with, and I have to be managing the pie in the oven and talking to people outside. Or it's normal that people just open my father's kitchen door and walk in because they come to see Junior. To them, I am Junior, not
and you will always
chief
be,
and I will always be Junior. Whether I'm chief sec or not here, life after chief secretary, I will always be Junior to them. So that has shaped in many ways who I am and how I see the job. It has shaped my interaction with people, and it might also give the security guard some difficult time, because it's very normal for people to get to me, to talk to me, to see me in a public space, to pull me to a side, to just want to have a quick chat. People don't feel intimidated by my presence, and I mean, that's a good thing. It comes with challenges, but that's a good thing all in all. And that is in large part because of Speyside and that sort of rural upbringing.
And of course, let us just pause to wish your wife and your daughter a very good morning. And I think, when you have a spouse who is in public life, many times he focuses on that person. But as you mentioned, your family would also, they carry that weight with you as well. So a very pleasant good morning to you, Mrs. Augustine, and your beautiful daughter. Now, being assemblyman for that area you grew up in, and of course that wide expanse, how do you, looking back at the last 3 years, do you think that you have delivered on your goals that you initially set out for your area?
Well, we delivered on quite a lot. But there's still some more that I would like to see done between now and the next Tobago House of Assembly election. So we started off strong doing some work in Little Tobago Jetty, repairing of the bird viewing pavilions on the island, and we have a standing contract with Unipet. We're going to introduce solar power there shortly. So before the end of this year, we will have lights there that's solar generated. We got Manta Lodge done after all these years and opened. We did some retaining wall systems, extensive ones in Top Hill along the Windward Main Road. We look at Lucyville, Branch Road, some work there. The pavilion at the playing field, got some work done. We're still working with TNTech to fix the electrical issue for the lights on the playing field in that area. We also did the lights from Kings Bay to Speyside and Speyside to Charlottesville, and that is historical. You're talking about for as long as Tobago existed as an island and people lived here, there was never lights along the route, whether it was a donkey cart route to the widened roads we have now. We never had lights in that intervening period between Delaford and Speyside and between Speyside and Charlottesville. As someone said to me, that it's refreshing to be down in the village in Charlottesville and look up and see the lights up on the hilltop descending, making it safer for motorists. We were able to just recently do the lockers for the fisher folk in Charlottesville in phase 1 and remove the rusting containers. We also repair the old craft market. So the Heritage Festival and the Charlottesville folk performers, they have a home now. They're in the scheme. We were able to do some work on that road in Church Street extension going up to Mr. Cutthroat Perry there. That road was horrible. An ambulance couldn't even drive there if rain fell, but now that they can drive there and so on. So, and we're cleaning up the waterfront, going towards the micro mall, and we should be restarting in this month, coming in February, the pavilion and community center there in Charlottesville. Of course, we go across on the north side. We have done some work on the Bloody Bay Blue Food grounds. I visited Blue Food almost every year prior to becoming area rep, and even when I was area rep, and it will always be a muddy mess there. Now the ground is far better because it's well done, and by the time we get to October this year, phase 1 should be completed, which means that we should have permanent huts and permanent stage, which means that year round you could get Blue Food at the Blue Food ground, and the people in the area will enjoy the facilities and some commercial activity. The Bloody Bay beach facility, I'm disappointed that it's not yet reopened. We went in, we're doing the sewer system, but then after we do the sewer system, we have to redo the roof, we have to do electrical, the lifeguard booths, almost complete overhaul. But within a few months, by the second quarter of this year, we should have that completed and reopened. In Palatavere, for the first time, we are making headway with the fishing depot. Now, fun fact, in Palatavere, probably about maybe 12 to 15 years ago, an actual foundation was laid for a fishing depot. A platform was done. That was it, nothing. And we completed the first phase where the lockers are, and the contractors are being mobilized to go to the second phase, which is to do the upstairs of that building. The building is not completed. When I was there yesterday in Palatavere, the fishermen buy their own door and put up their own door on the lockers and started using it, always not completed. We did some rehabilitation works around at the court there in Castara. We opened for the first time, well, fully operational for the first time, the fishing depot. I'm not sure if you remember the Prime Minister coming and saying somebody built some monstrosity on the beach. It was there, but unused, but it's open, it's functional, it's working. The fisher folk have access to ice and all of these amenities. We did some work down at Depot Road there in Castara. We had a serious drainage issue down at Depot Road, so we got that rectified. We recently did land distributions in the housing in Castara as we expanded the housing, the Castara, that's the housing at the top of the hill in Castara there. So we expanded that. We did some work with one of the churches in the area as well, who had to move from their home, and now they're being positioned within that housing development. So quite a lot. But there are some things I will want to see.
And with you sharing all of that, my next question is, what's that one project that has, been like a thorn under your skin because you want to accomplish it for your people, but it seems as though it just may not be done?
Well, I don't know about may not. It has to. They have to find a way to get it done, and it's probably 2 or 3 of those. So I want to completely redo the area with the dirt oven in Castara, because that has been a challenge. The health inspectors have some regulations that they want us to abide by, and I don't know why that has taken so long, but I need that to be redone along with the play park for the pupils at the Castara government school. That's critical. Across in Lansome, one of the projects I really want to get going there is the revitalization of the musical band. Because the community used to have a band, but that went south many years ago, and I want to get that going again. I'm also working with the young people there, and I'm trying to get them to the place where they can do some ATV tours through the rainforest, along the river in Bloody Bay and so on, and revitalizing that container, the Y zone that they had that has been unused for a long time. In Speyside, right where I live, we have a serious drainage issue, because what happens is that the drain exiting into the ocean does not have any system at the end to prevent the seawater from coming in. So when rain falls heavily and the tide is high, the seawater comes in, the water from the land does not get out, and so it goes into the yards of my neighbors, and I don't think my neighbor's going to forgive me for knowing that that's a problem. I live there, I've experienced it, and it just has not been fixed. And of course, by the time we get to the next election, Charlottesville must get back their community center or part thereof. As I said, construction is resuming in February. One of the things that held that up is that the former government, they didn't just break the community center down, they also broke the pavilion down. And the village council was insistent that the design must absolutely include the pavilion again. And so we had to do some design work. We have a finalized design now, and so that will be shared with the community and to get that going. So, you know, when in this job, there's just always so much more to be done, and that can be done. I know yesterday when we did the recommissioning of the pool at Kendall, one of the things that I reflected on in that moment is that here we were spending $2 million to get back into operation a facility that was open a long time ago and that was just not maintained and left to run to ruins. And I'm saying, but that's $2 million I could have easily done something in my district with and have a brand new project. And so maybe prophetically when we said, let me fix this, we were prophesying that we'll spend more time fixing that which we had as opposed to building out brand new things. And sometimes the budget is just not wide enough to fix all that needs to fix, and at the same time build that which is brand new. But certainly we have to try, we have to find creative ways to get things done, and that's one of the reasons why we so heavily the design, build, finance modality, because of the cash flow issues that come about because of limited funds, limited releases, or untimely releases as well. So it's just about being creative about getting it done, and also I will be ensuring we get some sort of library facility going north, and ensuring that MP gets the land to do the gas station going north, because I want those things to get started, at least, even if they're not done by the time the next election rolls around. I want them to get started, because I think those are critical areas for development, especially on the north side.
And switching now from your portfolio of assemblyman, I want us to talk about and reflect on your, well, it's not the full 3 years, but most of it, you start as Secretary of Finance, right? Now, before we get into that, I also want to mention, because again, we have viewers who may be viewing for the very first time, now hearing about Tobago updates. I want us to talk a little about you being in the classroom as a teacher. Is it something that you miss? Because before you made your mark, you've always been very vocal about representing Tobago. We didn't take you to get a political position, you know, to become like that. But we know that you spend time in the classroom as a teacher as well, you know, and I think even in your area, you know, what was that like, and is it something that you miss?
I miss it dearly. And you know, while I was there teaching, I never thought I would miss teaching. But teaching is the most rewarding job I've ever done. Teaching, and it's not that being chief secretary isn't rewarding. But when you walk the streets, when you encounter a past student doing so well, and you look over your own life and what you have contributed to that youngster being where they are at now, you can't help but be amazed. And I'll give you an example. I had some meetings last year with Unipet. And in fact, they brought some international players to meet with me. Especially as we're looking at energy and alternative sources of energy and how we can go green. And in the room was someone I taught, who was there working, coordinating, doing the presentation, and I'm sitting there looking at this gentleman who was one of the shyer ones in the classroom, who didn't quite like doing presentation in front of the class. And I'm remembering him in communication studies class, in Caribbean studies class, and just thinking about his growth and just being amazed by that. Or I am meeting with some lawyers, and in walks a young lady from Charlottesville who is a lawyer on the team, someone I taught.
Right.
And I'm just thoroughly impressed by her command of the legalese and so on. I'm saying, is this one of my products?
Right.
And teaching gives you that. And that's why ever so often, including last year, I took time out to spend some days teaching sixth form students at Speyside High. I try to do it every year in the lead up to exam.
And what's your subject area, your content area?
Well, both communication studies and Caribbean studies at the sixth form level. And I take the time out to do it, not because I can't find other more important things to do, but because one, I think there's something about teaching that keeps you young and keeps the mind going.
True.
And as I said, it's one of the just most rewarding professions. I was there last week, Thursday. I had a motion to carry to the house last week, Thursday, but I was there for the start of the sports and wishing I could duck the house. I low-key ducked the house the year before because I said, I'm going to sit in. I sing in sports with my people. But this year I had to move the motion in the house. And so I couldn't duck the sports. And if I had thought about it before, remember the clash before, I wouldn't have offered myself to carry the motion. But I have nostalgic feelings about the school. I am always interested in their performance and what they're doing. I am always sending to education to get reports on their performance and calling the principal and calling teachers about why is this happening? Why are we slipping in these areas? Because you see, Speyside High School, when it was built, people thought it would fail. When it was built, people thought a school so far east. I could tell you growing up in Speyside, I never envisioned that there will be a secondary school in my community. That wasn't just one of the ambitions of the community at all, because we just never thought that a school would come that far east. Fun fact, when Bishop's High School was started in 1925, the Anglican Church actually acquired lands in Delaford to build Bishop's High School East. It never got built. And so clearly, the Anglican Church saw something that the rest of the society did not see. But the school did extremely well, has been doing extremely well. And I'm just happy to be part of that story. The school turned 20 years last week, Thursday. So it was part of their celebration, the sports and family day. And I'm just so happy to be a part of that story because it's about building community. My life has been about building community, whether it's in the church, which I've always been very active in, and to the extent that my staff is rushing me out of the office because I have business meeting to keep in my church in Speyside. And or even in the village council, where at one time I was the youngest executive member of a village council anywhere on the island. Or even inside this football club, which is not the tier 2 level. Akko, if you're watching this, come on, we messing up. We're losing some simple matches. But I've always been about community, and so for me, that's why Speyside High will always be one of the most rewarding, most fun, some of the happiest times of my life.
And of course, viewers, I know you are enjoying this conversation, but we must go for a break. And when we return, we speak to the Chief Sec about being Secretary of Finance. So stay tuned, we'll be right back.
So guys, there are some new developments in housing in Tobago. So it's goat racing time. This is 116, the show that keeps you in the know with all things Tobago House of Assembly. Each week, 116 delivers a fun and engaging overview of the latest developments, achievements, activities, and events of our dynamic assembly. So join me. Let's dive into the Tobago House of Assembly's Week in Review right here on 116.
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bull joil and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With Amplia TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores, and stats with Amplia's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 GB fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games, and much more. With Amplia, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. Amplia. Do more, live more.
Rotisserie, mouth-watering fries, salads, combos, and specials galore. Feeling for something to eat? Come and see. Our rotisserie is seasoned to the T. Kicking chicken, masala, and jerk roast. Crispy fries made from scratch. Who do you know can't beat that? Or salads freshly cut and packed. When you taste it, you'll be wanting to come back. So come check us out on number 2 Robinson Street, Uptown Scarborough, Tobago. We open on Saturday nights from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m. Monday to Thursday, we're open from 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. and on Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Contact us at 772-7443 and all social media handles at The Rotisserie Factory.
Welcome back, viewers. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Tobago. Let's go. It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks a favor to wake up and hear me neighbor.
Thank you, viewers, for staying with us. You are viewing Good Morning Tobago GMT, and I am your host this morning, Natalie Sealy-Richardson. And I must admit, I miss Luke. I mean, last Friday, I made a big announcement. Luke is going back to school, and I saw Luke on air Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm like, okay, I'll see Luke this morning. Luke, where are you? I miss you. You know, you should have been here to sit with me as we interview the Chief Sec this morning. And if you are now joining us, we continue our series Beneath the Surface, and sitting with me this morning, as he reflects on the last 3 years, is none other than the Chief Secretary, Assemblyman. You know, he has all these titles, the Honourable Farley Augustine. So again, thank you for sitting with us this morning. I know there are places for you to be. And as we look at you as Secretary of Finance, what was some of the goals you wanted to accomplish there, and what would have made you decide, okay, let me hand over the reins to someone?
Well, I'll tell you something that we accomplished. So when we came into office, we just had a little over $300,000 in what we call unspent balances, meaning that's just what was not spent, what we could use for rainy day, literally.
Right.
One of the earliest decisions I took as Secretary of Finance was to create a dedicated contingencies fund with a separate account for which 5% of our annual receipts will go into that fund as a way of creating a rainy day kind of insurance. That is what helped us in the recent oil spill that happened in February last year. Also, as Secretary of Finance, I'm proud to say that I have the least amount of interest on overdraft expenses, because I manage that tightly to avoid excesses. And of course, I think sometime in the House, one of the retorts from the minority was, well, is you suffering yourself? You should just be using it. But the reality is that the interest rate on our overdraft is extremely high. The Tobago House of Assembly has the single largest non-collateralized overdraft facility in all of FCB's operations. Everywhere they have a bank, everywhere in the world. That is massive. And because it is not collateralized, the interest rate is extremely high. And one of the things I wanted to look at quite early on was how we manage that, because a future generation has to treat with that as an issue. Also, I completed all the preparatory work for our revolving loan program for our business community. And so Secretary Roberts will just roll that out now, because all the preparatory work happened. I brought on Ms. Vernie Shields, a former banker, who assisted me in doing all the preparatory work, doing all the work with the banks and so on. That's a facility where very soon you operate a business in Tobago, you have an easier route to get loan financing. Will be happening through the bank. We will be underwriting it as the Tobago House of Assembly. We'll be attaching a nice moratorium on it. So you have a while before you start to repay, and you'll be able to manage your business, because a lot of Tobago businesses still have not recovered from COVID, and so their operations are struggling even as we speak. So that should be rolled out soon, but I did all the preparatory work for that and managing that. Also, I brought on board, at the time I was the IDB, that assists us with the Development Trust, and essentially that's the fund that's stage one before going towards the Development Bank, and that is for reforming Venture, BDU, and all of these programs, from grants to loans from within the THA, and how we can create a facility that really drives and invests in Tobago. One of the challenges I found coming in as Secretary of Finance was that almost every one of the portfolios under venture capital failed. Right? Almost everybody we gave loan to in the past failed under venture capital. And so I wanted to reform the way we were doing that. And so we're well on our way to having that accomplished. And of course, general management, while they are Secretary of Finance, I was able to successfully reduce the number of bank accounts, active and inactive, for the THA. We moved from, probably about 50 to 60 active. We had a couple others that were inactive that took us probably over the 100 mark, but down to probably about 4 or 5 for the whole THA. So kind of streamlining it in
But how, and I don't know if you can share, but how does it get to that? I mean, you're looking at over 100 accounts.
Well, what was happening is that everybody was just opening accounts for every reason. But because we are moving into the age of digitization and preparing for IFMIS, we were looking at a digital platform that allow us to sort of centralize things, be able to monitor in real time the spend by every division. And so, as Secretary of Finance, I brought Tobago to a place of readiness for IFMIS ahead of the central government, to the extent that I got frustrated and said, listen, you said we're doing IFMIS, we ready, you not ready, let us go. And
explain to our viewers who may not know what IFMIS is.
Right, so IFMIS is really digital accounting platform that the government said as a policy we are going to move towards. So moving away from manual systems to a complete digital system. And it required that both the central government and the THA get ready for it. When I came, Tobago was still dragging the foot on it. The former management accountant at Finance was just doing a horrible job managing that in the THA space. And so we just reworked. In fact, the current Secretary of Finance was who I ended up using to help to pull that through for us and to work that through for us. And that's one of the reasons why she's Secretary of Finance today. So we get to the place where the THA got ready ahead of the national agenda on that. Also, as Secretary of Finance, I started the process by which we could do an inventory of every contract given, not just now, but in the past. So we actually have a team that's going division to division, pulling all of that data, and very soon that will be live online, whereby you could go online and literally see every contract given now, every contract given in the past, who got the contract, how much it was valued at or is valued at.
Right.
So they're doing that work, pulling the data. IT is working with them. Also, as Secretary of Finance, completely digitized all of our tendering processes. So unlike anywhere else in the country, as a government, all of our tenders are now completely digital.
Okay.
So we moved to a digital space for tenders using the e-tender platform in collaboration with TSTT. That was also another achievement as Secretary of Finance. One of the things I wish I had achieved as Secretary of Finance was to get the Ministry of Finance to release all the monies they have owing us, monies that were appropriated to Tobago, not paid to us, monies that were sent to the central government for us, for things like burial and so on that they never sent for us. It did not happen with me as Secretary of Finance, but you never know. Sometimes women have a way of getting things done that men can't get done. So our first female Secretary of Finance, God's willing, will be able to get that done for us.
And what made you decide to hand over the reins to someone else?
Well, couple things. One, I wanted to focus more on monitoring and evaluating all of the divisions and secretaries as they work. Finance computers a lot of paperwork,
Right.
a whole lot of paperwork. The way the system works, no money is released to divisions unless the Secretary of Finance signs off on it. It means that every single money decision requires the input of the Secretary of Finance. That is time consuming. It kept me in the office for long hours because I was doing that, plus also doing the role as Chief Secretary. It kept me in the office for much longer hours. I'll admit that I still spend long hours. I've just replaced finance with other things, unfortunately. Also, I wanted to ensure I could spend more time with my family, spend more time with my district, because I didn't want, on days when I schedule going to my district or going to a village, instead of going to the village, I'm in the office at 10 p.m. in the night.
Yeah.
You know, yesterday was one of those days I got a chance to go into my district, and you know, and since leaving the Division of Finance, I've had more time to do that. I've had more time to just be on the ground in my villages. Yesterday, I was between Castara and Bloody Bay. So I went all the way to Bloody Bay in the evening, spent a long time in Castara, visited two families I spent a long time in Palette Bay, and visited two families in Castara yesterday, and things like that I enjoy. And because yesterday I had a rough day, felt like I was getting ill. By the time I was leaving Castara, somebody come a whole bag with fresh dolphin.
Right.
You know, so I come home last night, season up the dolphin and get me fish head and fish roe, rejuvenate for this morning. I enjoy those interactions. In fact, the part of the job I love the most is when I'm out on the field.
Right. And is there any backlash against it? Because as you describe yourself, people know you as Junior. I mean, you're described as a man of yard, and you see these videos circulating on social media. Here's the Chief Sec in his official vehicle, window out, shouting out to somebody, the cake done. Is there any kind of backlash you get maybe from colleagues or just people around when they see you interact like that?
Well, yes, because it causes great consternation to the traditionalists in this space. Because remember, some people think it's demeaning the office. I think it's making the office more accessible. And at the end of the day, every office holder will come with their own personality. Hocho Charles was the heavy ruler, driving around in his Volvo and Outriders. Mr. London was known for being in the market on a weekend, just walking through the market on a weekend, by himself, doing his market shopping on a weekend. It's just the personality of the office holder. Noor Hassan Ali was known for never serving pork or alcohol because he was a Muslim.
Right.
It's just the personality of the office holder. And certainly at the point when I am no longer here and God transitions me to somewhere bigger and better than here, the new office holder will come with their own personality, you know. So I don't think it demeans the office. I don't think it takes away. I think it just adds to it, and it adds to our rich history, so that people over the years can look back and really assess, you know, who was what way and what we liked about each individual, what we did not like about each individual. Because I'm sure there are some quirks that people don't like about me and they have me in my office, and that's normal. That is okay. Nothing to worry about, I think, you know. But for me, the part of the job I enjoy the most is when I get to go to my district in particular. And not just my district, since leaving Secretary of Finance, I have had the opportunity to walk other districts. 2 Fridays ago, last week Friday, I was in the Kokowati area with the area rep, Pantin. I did some walking in the Mason Olmora area sometime earlier in the year. I was able to do some of that in Bethel as well. So it gives me an opportunity to go beyond just my district as well, which I think is important for the Chief Secretary to do.
And let's switch again to Office of the Chief Sec. Talk to you in that role as Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly. When people think of the Chief Sec, just on the ground, sometimes you hear, you know, what does that person do? They're always traveling in meetings. What does the Chief Secretary do? As simply as you can get that in.
Well, yes, there is a lot of that. A lot of the traveling, a lot of meetings, a lot of engagements, quite exhausting. When we have public days, our last one was in November last year. We're going to have a next one in February. We resume in February. We took a break for Christmas and we resume in February. When we have public days, sometimes a public day can take you up to 8, 9 in the night, and you will start at 9 in the morning. So you're talking about 12 hours straight seeing people. And after a while, you have to get up, walk, drink something, because you start zoning out mentally, and you have to work with that. Under the Office of the Chief Secretary, we also have the planning department. So when divisions have their projects, the planning department is what will streamline them, look at the funding and assign the funding accordingly, or make the recommendations rather for how we assign those funding development funds. Under Office of the Chief Secretary, we have land management as well. So we manage all the land assets of the state in Tobago. Under the Office of the Chief Secretary, we had TEMA. And so every single emergency that happens, the Chief Secretary automatically becomes the head of managing those emergencies. So the oil spill, burial, the last year, December, we had a weather event not last year, but I'm forgetting, in 2025. In December 2023, we had a weather event in Charlottesville. Prior to that, we had a period of some heavy rainfall in 2022 with some floods and landslides and so on. So any disaster, the Chief Secretary automatically just has to jump into action and work. That's also part of it. And sometimes that will take away from what you had scheduled to do that month or in that year, and you just have to roll with the punches where that is concerned. As Chief Secretary now, prior it was under the Office of the Deputy Chief Secretary, but now it's under the Office of the Chief Secretary. We treat with the whole autonomy question and prosecuting that. Under the Office of the Chief Secretary, we are actively looking for foreign direct investments and engaging investors far and wide and trying to attract them to Tobago and saying, come, Tobago is a good place to invest in. Under the Office of the Chief Secretary, we are also sort of the supervising division, the umbrella organization. I would like to think that the Division of Finance is the heart that pumps the blood through the system, which is the money, the resources. But the OCS is the head of the Tobago House of Assembly, and that's how we operate. The Chief Secretary is responsible for also assigning and reassigning secretaries and assistant secretaries across the space. So it's not just a titular head, it is quite heavy. A lot of things come through here, that requires attention, everything that comes through the desk, somebody will stamp urgent on it and say it is urgent, but you have to really sit down and determine what is really urgent and what isn't urgent in this space, and ensuring that things just moves and get done. And of course, you chair the Executive Council. By law, the Executive Council constitutes the Chief Secretary, the Deputy Chief Secretary, and not more than 7 other secretaries. So we are even limited in terms of the number that makes up the Executive Council. So the Assistant Secretaries are really not a part of the Executive Council, but we make time for them to be part of our discussions.
Okay.
So we'll have Exec Council meetings, and there's a time they will come in and join us, and we share with them what the plans are, and how we move on those. Information division is also under the Office of the Chief Secretary. So how we manage public communication is also part of the portfolio of the Office of the Chief Secretary. And again, because we are limited in terms of the number of divisions we can have, you will see that several things occur under the Office of the Chief Secretary, which by comparison will be separate ministries in Trinidad. But we are limited in terms of the number of the secretaries we can have. Thereby, we are almost limited in terms of the number of divisions. We're also limited in terms of the number of administrators we can have. So that limits the number of divisions. And so you'll find that Office of the Chief Secretary, like most other divisions, will have several portfolios and sometimes competing portfolios in that one space. But you just have to manage it. And in the Office of the Chief Secretary now, we have a Chief Administrator. We also have an Administrator helping. We also have properties under the Office of the Chief Secretary. So properties will include all of those physical properties owned by the THA, literally comes under our ambit. That includes the government quarters that were just left to fall apart over the years, and how we're managing those and bringing those back on stream. So it's just several moving parts that you manage on a daily basis.
And of course, viewers just listening, I hope you have a better understanding and appreciation of the different roles of the Chief Secretary. So when you see the man out with his wife, with his daughter, leave them alone, let them spend some time, I
don't want people to think
No, and I think they understand the context, because we know your personality and you're always available. But I think as members of the public, we need to respect your space as well. So yes, you may have the intrusion now and again, but we know there are some people who know they can wait, so in that context, you are the man. We can't change you. That's who you are.
The truth is, I will always listen.
Right.
Regardless of the circumstance, I will always listen and make myself available. Because I appreciate that everyone won't find the time or won't be able to come to an appointment at the office.
Yes.
And sometimes it just requires me to make a call on their behalf, because they're trying to get some service done in some other division that's just not happening as fast as they desire, but it is what it is.
Yes.
And I'll give you a joke. Sometime earlier this year, I think it was ComDev had their staff appreciation. So after we finished the work day, my staff, I was in a meeting here, my staff WhatsApped me and they said, Chief, we're going for dinner by Comforting. You can't say no, you have to come, right? We had a long, hard day, we're going for dinner, so you have to come. So we went for dinner and I said, okay. As I was walking in, at the same time they had Michael Teja checking in. And of course, again, I saw one of my past students, they're working with him. So of course we had the friendly exchange, talk a bit. I said, well, let me pass through ComDev thing, right? So I said, I pass through ComDev thing, drink 2 glasses of coconut water, because that's all I drinking, and just chill. From the time I walk in, it was like having a public day. Michael Teja is singing on stage, and people are coming with their issues on the side eventually.
The opportunities before them, yes.
So it's just what it is, it's just part of the job, and you just accept it, you roll with the punches. I have to figure out a way to find some me time, which is also something that every professional should do. When I was a teacher, my former principal, who is now school supervisor, Miss Hackett, she insists that a teaching professional is a professional that does introspection, that finds time to reflect, and find quiet moments. Like it should be a mandatory part of your professionalism.
Right.
If you are to do the job well, that becomes difficult to sort of manage. But it is what it is. I enjoy the job. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy people. I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy the interactions. I enjoy even the difficult moments that will keep me up at night trying to figure out how to get it done.
Right.
And that's kind of when you are doing what you're passionate about, when you're doing what God calls you to do. And when you're doing what God calls you to do, in the moments when you can't figure it out totally, God figures it out for you, and it's just part of the job.
Right, and of course, viewers, we have to pause here as we go for a quick break again, but I know you will be back when we return, so stay tuned. We continue to talk to our chief. Different roles he's actively involved in as he takes care of Tobago, as he leads in Tobago. And we cannot allow this interview end because we are talking about beneath the surface, and there are many layers beneath the surface. We will look at the secretary in his political sphere and as one of the leaders of the Tobago People's Party. And of course, I would describe it as being on the cusp of an election. People may differ, but we know it's coming, right? It's coming. Yes, we are. And of course, a lot of questions are being asked by people. Everybody's anticipating which party is standing up who for East, West, and what's going on. And before we get into that, I want you just to briefly share with us the vision for Tobago People's Party. What the overall goal?
The overall goal is to have an indigenous Tobago party that lasts. We have had indigenous Tobago parties before, but they did not last.
Right.
DAC did not last. DAC morphed into NAR and tried to get back to DAC, but it did not work. We had Tobago Forwards, we had TOP, we had Tough DAC, we had TPT, that is on the platform of truth, that is under Mr. Charles. But what we are building is a robust democratic institution that's an indigenous standalone Tobago party. Because from our perspective, Tobago's development can only be had when Tobagonians take charge of their development without outside interference, perhaps with outside or external partnerships, but not external interference.
Right.
And so that's a political goal. And that's why I have very, very strong views, much to the displeasure of some of my friends and family in the Sister Isle. And by the way, our Sister Isle is Trinidad, not Tobago. Just saying, in our Sister Isle, I have very strong views. I am very pro-Tobago, very Tobago-centric. And yes, that rubs some people the wrong way. And I need people to understand that being pro-Tobago does not mean being anti-Trini. It just means that I love myself and my island so much that I think we can do it and we can go at it successfully with our own ideas, on our own strength. Of course, external partnerships are welcome. Every jurisdiction everywhere in the world enjoys external partnerships. Standing alone and having an isolated position will not lead to development. So that means that you will always encourage externalities to come and be a part of your development program. But it does not mean that it should be charted by those outside. They should come under our rules, on our terms. That's how you get development.
Right.
Love or hate Donald Trump, he's doing what the Americans want him to do in this moment.
Yep.
And I have to agree with his policies. He's just doing what he wants to do then and there. They didn't get to become a hegemonic state by simply allowing Great Britain that founded them, their modern state, to continue to rule them. At their earliest opportunity, they kicked the British out and did their own thing. They decided The British is driving on one side of the road, we drive on the next side. We will have our own dollar. We will spell our words differently if we want to. Because that's what a developed society does. A developed society is not a copycat of another. Developed society develops within the realm of one's own culture and belief systems, and with one's own resources.
Right.
And so the TPP has very strong, and I will admit sometimes offensive, pro-Tobago positions. But we are unapologetic about that. And so going into this general election, that's what we are going with. We're not going as a partner to anybody. We're going at it alone, because we believe we have a far better chance, a far better negotiating position on our own. Are there other sort of Tobago indigenous parties that are standalone Tobago parties? Well, we are probably one out of two that are active in the space now, that does not have any branch anywhere in Trinidad. Did not set up any office anywhere in Trinidad, but we are only one of those two active ones that actually have a democratic system. The other one that claimed to be indigenous and does not have any branch or party thereof in Trinidad. I've never seen their constitution. I've never seen them had an internal election. I have not seen public involvement in crafting their policies. They're just doing it by themselves and hoping the rest of the island will follow them. We have a very ground up approach. So it was the members of the party that came, determined the name, determined the symbol. My name now, Senator, is not even there with the registering of the symbol. And in our party's constitution, it says clearly that the symbol is not to be owned by anybody. The symbol is to be owned by the party. So the days when a man jumps up and says, well, this is my party, my symbol, I do what I want, you have to do what I say you must do, those days are gone. So it's not Farley Party, it's the Tobago People's Party. It's owned by the people, formed by the people. The policies are crafted by the people. And so even now as we are preparing for the upcoming general elections, last week after receiving nominations around the 8th of January, last week, all action groups were notified. And action groups are now busy assessing all of the nominees, and we will have our screening 4th and 5th of February. So that's what Tuesday and Wednesday coming, because we have quite a bit, especially for Tobago East. So I'm not sure if you'll be able to get both East and West done in one evening, but we're looking tentatively at the 4th and 5th for our screening. Our process is that the action groups will send to me as political leader and chair of the screening committee their thoughts. They will rank the nominees. So in other words, they will determine their preference. So we will go into the screening knowing who the action groups like and don't like. Also, they have the opportunity to reject one or all of the nominees. Action groups could send a clear signal to me as political leader that, look, we are like none of them people here that were nominated, in which case, as political leader, I will be left with no choice but to send back out to the action group for more nominations. So it's not a given that because you were duly nominated, that you or one of those nominated will become the candidate. And that's not unique to us, to be honest, because I saw recently the Prime Minister talking about some constituency in Trinidad and saying, look, we're going back out again in a hunt for a candidate. So that's very much a possibility for us as well, because I have not received the information from the action groups as yet. I'll get that through the mobilization officer sometime over the weekend into Monday. I'll get their thoughts. But I'm confident that whomever we send will be victorious, that Tobago will select the two TPP candidates as their MPs, because what we want MPs who will go to Port of Spain and fight for Tobago.
Right.
We can't have MPs in Port of Spain and also MPs in a cabinet, and Caribbean Airlines still has not returned to full service as they had it pre-COVID. You know, remember those days pre-COVID when you could get a flight from Tobago after 1 in the morning?
Yes.
Or you could get a flight from Port of Spain, from Piarco after 12 in the morning.
Yep.
We can have MPs, especially MPs in cabinet, and Caribbean Airlines that is being managed by the cabinet can't be directed so to do. We can't have MPs in the parliament and consideration is not given to how Tobago and the THA can monetize its blue assets, its marine space, and that is sort of swept aside. We can have MPs in a parliament who will say, well, yes, I know Tobago sent this down to the parliament, but we are agreeing with Trinidadians to give you whatever we say you must get as your autonomy. We need MPs that when they stand in the parliament, they know that it is Tobago that they are representing, and that what Tobagonians say they want, that is what they are there to advocate for, not what they feel like Tobago should get.
Right.
There must be a sort of respect for the democracy on the island and the people who put us there. And I'm confident that whomever we send, that the screening committee selects, that they will be victorious in the upcoming election for both Tobago East and West.
And of course, you know, we have been asking here at Tobago Updates, people in Tobago, people in Trinidad, and everybody has been asking, you know, when we had the chairman of the party on, you know, what's going on with the candidacy? What's, you know, who is going to be, who have you screened? And, you know, she told us, don't worry, the time will come. And just to tell our viewers, the time has come. So if you need to share the link, share the live, now is the time if you want to get this action in real time. And as you prepare to tell us more about, you know, the candidates that came forward, the action groups put forward to represent East and West, you mentioned that there are a lot of nominees rather for East, but not as much for the West. Do you think there's any specific reason for that?
We have 2 nominees for the West and 6 nominees in the East.
Right.
So it is competitive all around.
Right.
It is competitive. It's not a one-man show.
Right.
It's not a case where the party just picking somebody. So it is actually competitive both East and the West.
Right.
I'm not sure what might be the particular reason why. The reality is that historically, West has always been much of a marginal seat. There were times that it wasn't so marginal. For example, in 1986, when Pamela Nicholson flogged Keith Rowley in Tobago West, it wasn't so marginal. But in 1981, when Auguste beat him, it was quite marginal.
Right.
You know, so West has almost always been more marginal than East has been. So naturally, people might feel more comfortable running for the East. It might seem like a safer seat, so to speak. But from my perspective, both Tobago seats will go to Tobago, and there's only one party that really representing Tobago at this time, and that's the Tobago People's Party. So either way, we will be victorious.
Well, my job is done here. Let me hand over to you as you share who the nominees
so
are.
I'll share the nominees for both East and West. Remember, these are nominees to be screened next week.
And it doesn't mean because they offer themselves as yet or the action groups are behind them, because as you said, you have to review it. It has to be reviewed.
Yes, and of course, while all our nominees are potential winning candidates, we don't just want a winner. We don't just want to win the seat. You know, there's a kind of representation that we are looking for.
Definitely.
That goes beyond winning the seat. That deep sense of representation is what we require. So in Tobago West, we have 2 nominees. At this point, we have Mr. Trevor James, who is currently the area representative for Scarborough Mount-Grace. And we also have Barry Andre Nelson. Barry sometimes appears as a surrogate on Tobago Updates, mooting some of the positions of the party. So 2 gentlemen, those are the nominees for Tobago West. In Tobago East, The nominees that we have so far in Tobago East are William Nurse, former Assistant Commissioner of Police, Mr. William Nurse. We also have former Deputy Chief Fire Officer,
Yes.
David Joseph Thomas.
Right.
We have as well Mr. Max Albert James. Max is a former assemblyman, I think between 1996 and 2001. Not that it matters, but he's also the sibling of Mr. Trevor James. We have as another nominee in Tobago East, Mr. Anselm Dobson Richards, originally out of Bell Garden, as a nominee. And then we also have a former head of the Forestry Department, known forester and tour guide from out of Louisdor, Mr. William Trim. Mr. William Trim is certainly brand new to politics.
Right.
Almost everyone I called before has been involved in politics
And
in a very
public light, yeah.
in a very public way.
Yes.
But this will be Mr. William Trim's first go at it. So he is one of the nominees, and the final nominee for Tobago East is the lone woman that submitted a nomination, and that is Miss Anne Natasha Second, who's the chairman of the party. And of course, because she is a nominee, she has absolutely nothing to do with this process.
Right.
She's completely left out of the process, although she's chairman of the party. She's treated as any other nominee. So those are the 8 nominees across Tobago East and West. And as I said, the screening tentatively Tuesday and Wednesday next week. We'll try to see if we can do all in one go. I'll be hearing back from all the action groups. They have the prescribed forms that they are reporting to the political leader on, and I should get those back by the end of this weekend, and that will then assist the screening committee in doing their work in assessing them. And when we're talking screening, it's going to be robust. We're going to explore every single thing with candidates, including personal matters that may impede their ability to represent properly. As I said, any of these 8 can win, either East or West. Very confident of that. But we're not just looking for a winner. We're looking for a winner who will represent at the very best. And at the end of the day, this is about representing Tobago. And we are quite conscious of the fact that we are the only democratic indigenous Tobago party. And that comes with heavy responsibility. And so we want to make good of that responsibility and privilege and ensure that the next MPs for Tobago East and West will give representation like we have not seen in a long while.
Right. And of course, viewers, that's why you stay with us on Tobago Updates. Hot off the press, breaking news. You got it live right here on Tobago Updates. The 8 nominees for Tobago East and West, 6 for the East, 2 for the West. Nominees, persons who have offered themselves. And of course, the Tobago People's Party will continue their process. And we will definitely keep abreast, let you know what's going on, who would have become successful, or if any of the groups will have to, East or West may have to go back to the drawing board. We will definitely keep you up to date. So I would allow you, Chief, just to, wish Tobago a good day. I know you have another event you need to be at. Yes. So again, thank you for, making this time for us and to talk to the people of Tobago and of course, all our viewers over the world. And
you see, this is just how it is, the events roll into each other. So I have a 9:30 and it's 9:38,
right. Yes.
So it just rolls into the other. So if I come to your event late, it's not that I'm just home doing nothing.
Right.
It's just one rolling into the other, We have our Thanksgiving service today. We didn't want to end the month of January without bringing the entire island of Tobago together for praise, worship, and prayer. It's something that we have been doing since I've become Chief Secretary, where every month we bring different members together from different faiths, and we pray for the island, pray for our success, and we also pray for leaders across the space, including those that are not members of my political party, because at the end of the day, for good or for bad, once you are elected, you are a leader in this space. You contribute to our development, and we pray for you. Even if we have juxtaposing political views,
right.
Even if we are staunch political enemies, we pray for you. And so we're going to do that this morning. And so you could join us, of course, because that will be live, certainly on the Office of the Chief Secretary's page, and perhaps live broadcast elsewhere. But I want to wish Tobago a safe weekend. Last year, one of the challenges we had is that we experienced highest levels of murder in our history at 26. But we also had among the highest taking of drugs of the streets and guns of the streets. We have seen the trajectory trending downwards between October last year and now. It is trending downwards, and we want to keep it that way as we return Tobago to what is a Tobago normal. We're working very hard on that, but we ask that you keep safe. We saw what happened at CADS. That was last weekend at CADS. And what's interesting is that I was nearly in CADS at that time. As a matter of fact, I stopped to go into CADS. And had I gone into CADS, I would have been in that supermarket when that robbery happened. I actually stopped going. It's just that I got a call from security saying, you have some visitors. And I said, oh, CADS is closed late. I'll go by CADS. This is just after 6 in the evening. So CADS is closed late, I'll go back. And here kind of busy right now. So I'll go back later in the night, And by the time I'm home, I'm seeing it's a robbery happening in the place I was supposed to be at. So keep safe, stay prayed up. Tobago is still a beautiful place.
Definitely.
Tobago still has beautiful people.
Yes.
Tobago, we can certainly achieve that dream of the greatest little island on the planet. Achieving any dream sometimes require a lot of pulling and tugging. Change sometimes is difficult. Change sometimes is messy, as you would know, but if you stick to it, because we will stick to it, we will achieve it. It requires that stick-to-itiveness. And sometimes I see Tobago almost as what Ezekiel saw in prophecy, place dry bones, dead, no flesh. But through God said, look, they could live again and become an exceedingly great army. That's how I view Tobago. That's how I view our ability to really become the greatest island on the planet. It is achievable, and we will get there with the Tobago People's Party. Thank you so much for joining me in office today. And it's just so poetic that we're doing it here. Because it's just another example of us coming in, cleaning up our mess and fixing something and making the best out of what we have. So thank you. And God's richest blessings to you and the rest of Tobago.
And thank you to our Amplia family, our Flow family, those of you who join us on the live Facebook, YouTube. Thank you for choosing us and always keeping us as #1 in Tobago. I am your host, Natalie Sealy-Richardson. And remember, you heard the breaking news right here. So I know many of you may have to go share the link now, and you may have to make phone calls. Go right ahead. And I just want to reiterate what the chief said. If we stick to it, we can achieve it. Enjoy your weekend and your day today.
60,000 people